Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of my monthly Clockwork Empires stable build episodic series thing. I don't know what to call it yet, I don't have a proper name. But I've been doing these once a month on the occasion of Gaslamp Games' release of a new revision to the stable build, which is available on Steam. Now the game's in early access. Game is Clockwork Empires, did I mention that already? Yeah. So about every month or so, Clockwork Empires sees an update to the stable branch. There's also an experimental branch, which is updated even more frequently, but is even less stable. Now this is part 2 of episode 1, so although it is episode 2, it actually consists of stuff I recorded for episode 1, but then episode 1 turned out to be like 40 minutes long. So I chopped it in half, and this is the second half of that. So if you're here from episode 1, welcome. If you're not here from episode 1, I recommend you go back and watch that one instead. So I'm going to cover the new stuff as I get this colony started, and in this one I'm specifically going to talk about UI changes to the character info panel, and of course more stuff about food and crops. So sit back and enjoy, or don't enjoy, I guess it's up to you. All right. Another little thing that was changed. If we look at the bottom right here, we've had the scrolling notification window. I only have 1 prestige because I haven't earned any, and you just get 1 a day otherwise. So I only have 1, which is not enough to ask for any favors, which cost you prestige. You must expend prestige to purchase a specific favor from the Empire. So the opportunity for to purchase favor arose, but I didn't have enough prestige, so that window just never opened. So that's actually new-ish. It's either this revision or the revision previous. It was just annoying, right? Like the window would pop up in the middle of what you're doing, but you couldn't buy anything, so you just close the window anyway. So now the prestige window no longer opens unless you have a minimum of 2 prestige, which is the amount required to purchase the cheapest favor. But I am getting 3 immigrants. So I'll just ask for the usual number, which in this case is 2, but that number actually varies depending on, I believe, the size of your colony and the amount of prestige it has. So I think I'm going to build a place for my workers to sleep. This is my giant good enough. My giant lower class house. Oh, there goes Elsa Cole Scuffle off hunting again. Let's put a door on here for now. And what's this? Oh. A colonist, Matthias Goodfellow, is looking into his family tree. And okay, that's fine. So research into genealogy can have a positive and or negative outcome. If positive, Matthias will discover that he is a relative of somebody present in the colony. And that will mean his disposition toward that specific person is increased. They probably become friends. The negative outcome is that he uncovers some sort of terrible secret that is left kind of vague, but the artwork for that is ominous, and it affects his sanity. So he doesn't talk to anyone about it, but it drives him closer to the brink of madness. By the way, let's harvest up this rubbery black fungus. Now I will get back to building this bunkhouse. The whole purpose of the bunkhouse, of course, is to have a place to store beds. Not store beds, to have beds. Oh, Matthias's research is complete. He's discovered he is related to Job Gruel. So here's Matthias right here. Oh, yes, of course. One thing that saw major work was the colonist interface here. This looks very different now from the way it used to. First of all, Yes, okay. First of all, only for what's in the feelings category, what I called memories in episodes prior to this. Basically, each of these are his 4 most recent or most vivid memories, right? And of course, this being only day 3 of the new colony, He doesn't have a lot of a lot of these memories are pre-generated. So characters come into the game with some memories, and then they generate new ones as they live their lives in the colony. So, of course, the most recent one, he discovered he was related to Job Gruel. As we mouse over these, oh, and he also became his friend. As we mouse over these, you can see the little arrows on his emotion meter, emotion meter, the display here on the left, changing. And you can see how each specific memory affects his mindset. On the right, we have his, call it a madness meter. And low is good, right? As 0 is perfect. As he gets crazier and crazier, this purple bar fills all the way up to the top until he's completely insane, and this brain icon actually changes. It gets this weird purple glow, and he's completely mad at that point. The game will actually tell you now. It's basically the reason we saw this overhaul was to provide the player better insight into the specific causes and also remedies of certain emotional configurations. So if somebody's very angry, hopefully you can deduce why they're very angry, or they're sad, or whatever. For instance, so how does Matthias feel about discovering that Job Gruel is his distant relative? Well, you can see it has made him happier. So his happiness has gone up, and his anger, fear, and sadness have all gone down. Now, he was airsick on the journey here, which decreased his starting happiness, but also his anger. Now, it made his fear increase, but it made his sadness decrease. So there are many different kinds of memories, and they all influence his emotions, everyone's emotions, in a different combination of ways. And their emotional state, in turn, affects their behavior. Oh, and Elvira Crump. She is upset that I've decided to be friendly with the fish people, and she demands that I dictate a policy of extermination. I don't want to do that. However, if I accede to her demands and actually tell her and actually change my policy regarding fishmen, it will make her happy, but of course it'll affect my relations with the fish people. If I stay the course and I stay friendly with the fish people, Elvira will become... Actually, I'll do that now. Oh, and the other option is to ignore them. Just ignore Elvira, that is, not the fish people. So I'm going to stay the course, but let's look at Elvira now. We can see the bottom right here. I have chosen to ignore Elvira's recommendation. So, let's look specific. Whoops. Now, if we look at Elvira, first of all, she's xenophobic. So these are some of the traits that every colonist starts with. She is going to be an interesting one to follow through this game, because she is morbid, reclusive, and xenophobic. In this case, specifically, it's her xenophobia that has caused her to request that I shoot fishmen on sight rather than maintaining diplomatic relations. So, her most vivid memory recently was that she ate bread, which has, it increased her happiness and it lowered her all the other 3 negative emotions. Now, when she saw a horrible fishy creature, it caused her to become more fearful, but decrease all the other emotions. So, okay, I'm not going to read all of these. If you're in the game, you can see specifically what each memory does. And as each memory gets further and further back in time, it actually fades out. It becomes less of an influence on their specific immediate emotional state, right? It's been some time since we first encountered the fish people, so that memory is no longer as vivid as the first time it occurred, and eventually it will be replaced by a more immediate memory, whatever that is. Also, her memory of not sleeping well the first night. Yes, so if I keep Elvira's xenophobia will cause her to keep questioning my fish people policy, and if I keep denying her, that will probably make her angry and make her less happy. Now, colonists can have competing requests. So Elvira might want me to kill fish people, but I might have other... if you pick the neutral path with fish people, some colonists will actually become irate, saying, you've got to pick a side. Either be friendly with them or kill them. And they're mutually exclusive, or they're not compatible. So no matter what you do, typically some people will be happy with it and some people will not be okay with it. However, I've been neglecting the... Oh, okay. Changes to food. So no longer do we have the many types of stew. So we used to have one stew for each crop type, right? Well, let's see. Corn stew, maize chowder, cabbage stew. There was no wheat stew, of course. Pumpkin stew. And then wheat can be turned into bread. All of these, and then basically a whole bunch of food products have been combined into cook basic food. Now the computer will still it'll grab pumpkins, such as I have, and turn them into pumpkin stew. And the same goes for this steak here. They will grab this steak, and okay, that's a bad example because steak is a little bit bugged. But the way it should work is that they will grab steak and turn it into cooked steak. They'll grab pumpkins and turn it into pumpkin stew. And I'm actually, although I have enough favor to purchase a favor right now, prestige to purchase a favor, I'm not going to bother. I think I'm going to save that until I have 5 prestige, then I'll call in a food drop. Now the other types of food, those that require 2 ingredients, so all the pies require flour, so wheat flour, and also the main ingredient of their respective pie. So meat, pumpkin, human flesh, fish person flesh, steak, right? All of those are still here, as well as all the different types of pickles. So the black fungus can be turned into pickled black fungus, and same with lingonberries. Beef can be turned into corned beef, although steak is, I believe steak is bugged right now, and you may actually have to, that might have been fixed. Anyway, and you can also turn caviar into tins of caviar, which makes the fish people very angry. And I can see the fish people have already brought me a cube of flesh as a present. You can't cook it, but you're very hungry. If your colonists are starving for whatever reason, poor management, plagues of beetles, they will actually reluctantly eat those cubes of flesh. Which is kind of gross, I mean, but whatever. If you're starving, I guess you do what you have to do. They've also brought me a bushel of scrap iron somewhere. Probably haven't brought it back to the stockpile yet. Which I can use to smelt iron ingots without having to find a hematite node, which is very kind of them, and bushels of sand, which is great. So otherwise I would have to find sand myself. And sand only occurs on the edges of bodies of water where there are beaches. And the problem there is that I have no idea where the water is. It might be very far away. So all of these are pretty cool, even the cube of flesh. Yes, another new thing this patch saw is that there have been some changes to the vicar behaviors specifically. It used to be, so the vicars are the guys who work in the chapel office, or the chapel building, and they will do things like take confession and pray and preach, and generally if your vicar is not insane, that makes your colonists feel better. It drives down their likelihood of being an insane cultist. However, oh, I thought they were bringing me a present. No, they are. They're just laying them at the edge of town here. They didn't have to walk through the middle of town first. If your vicar is insane, you cannot rely on him to contribute to the stability of the town. Ah, these jerks. Okay, so fish people, even though they're friendly, they don't understand how crops work, and given free reign, they will actually stamp on your crops. So I have an opportunity to I can react with hostility. I can just ignore the problem, of course. I can shoot them on sight, which again changes my relations with the fish people. I can try to speak to them gently, which means I continue to suffer some crop damage, but not quite as, it could be worse. Which is what I'm going to do, because I can probably afford to lose some pumpkin plants in the name of peace. Right. Kitchen isn't cooking anything because I didn't assign a team there. Enola Golden Ore. You're now the captain of the kitchen. So you can see Enola Golden Ore and Tobias Steelwick getting to work immediately cooking, and it looks like steak was fixed. So steak is working properly now. So basic food. I'm going to have to talk about food a little bit. Again, I seem to talk about that a lot. So last patch, crop yields were changed. This patch, the definition of some of the definitions of food were changed. So a basic food encompasses many types of food, and basically each unit of food has the same nutritional value. That is to say, one meal is one meal, and they're not special in any way. It used to be that steak was much more productive than wheat or cabbage or whatever because you could get 4 steaks out of one raw steak. No longer the case. One steak gives you one cooked steak. One cabbage gives you one cabbage stew. And your colonists don't care which is which. They'll just eat it. Right? Basic food also includes that basic stew. That stew that used to incorporate any ingredient. So if you enable a certain amount of basic food, autosave, you'll get stew, and if it's not an ingredient that would fall into its own recipe in basic food, then it gets turned into stew. In this case, it'll only be the black fungus and the lingonberry preserves, unless I specifically call up lingonberry preserves to be made, and I give them a higher priority than the Omni stew. Yeah, wow. Okay, this video is going on a bit. I'm going to have to cut this off here so it's not horribly long. I'll talk about some more of the new stuff next episode. I'll probably also talk about the implications of the crop changes, which I suspect we're only now beginning to understand. But yeah, so that was Alpha 43, released just the Wednesday just passed. The game is Clockwork Empires. My name is Alfred. I do these looks at the new revisions once a month when they hit the stable branch on Steam, where the game is available. Clockwork Empires is being developed by Gaslamp Games. It's in early access, so it's not done. All sorts of stuff that is yet to come, or in planning, or is broken. And yet, I think you can see the game is pretty functional as is. Yeah, I hope the video has been useful for those who just want to see where the game's at, or what it's if it's a sort of game for you. Thanks very much for watching this. Oh, someone's had an ominous dream. Solomon Crimble, eh? Did it drive him insane? Well, nope. I've clicked on the wrong guy's memories. He had an ominous dream, which made him afraid, made him unhappy, but less angry and less sad. But he is extremely insane. Oh, that's not good. Also, the game will now suggest to you, you might find some success producing his madness with alcohol, which I will have to produce. I'll probably have to brew it out of wheat, which is going to take forever. You're going to have to be insane for a little while longer. So, and as the new day dawns on day 4, I will call this episode to a close. Thanks very much for watching this one. Have a good one.